Welcome to Savvy Business, Life Unscripted, with your host, Christina Rivera, where our guests share their wisdom and valuable business tips, empowering our audience to expand their personal potential.
Hi, Joseph Gitto. Welcome to Savvy Broadcasting, Life Unscripted. I'm so grateful to have you here this wonderful afternoon. Thanks for joining me.
Christina, thanks for having me. I'm really looking forward to speaking with you.
Oh, me too. We had a little bit of a fun chat beforehand about our love of aviation, and it's so cool to meet a fellow, not aviator yet, but an enthusiast aviation.
Aspiring.
Inspire.
Yes.
You're going to be there, though, very, very short order. But you're here to talk to our audience about how to start effectively their own business and exit. If they had this idea to start a business, what would it look like? And if they ever had plans to not only start, but one day exit, what are some of the things they have to know before they enter all of this? And so you're going to share some of your journey. So before we go there, just share what even brought you to the world of entrepreneurism.
I guess it's what got me into the world of entrepreneurism was frustration with corporate life. So I started out my degrees in accounting, passed the CPA exam, and honestly, like the day after I passed the CPA exam, I'm like, I can't do this. And this is not how I want to spend the rest of my life. And I started to, so my first business, I got involved with a couple of friends. So I'm going to date myself, but this is when counting systems were coming off mainframes and they were going on to PCs. And so we were installers and trainers. And so I learned a valuable lesson about getting into business with friends and partners. And so we made a lot of money and dissolved our friendship in our business, unfortunately, after 2 years. Those things happen. And then after that, I kind of had the bug. And then back in 99, this was kind of better to be lucky than good, but I had just finished going through a divorce. I was doing a turnaround of a public company that wound up going sideways and we filed bankruptcy. And I wasn't sure what to do, but 99 was also the venture capital boom. So if you were breathing and you could articulate a sentence, you were getting funded. And so I had the idea of, well, you know what? I really don't want to go back to work for somebody. I want to try to do some consulting. And so I got some calls from friends going, hey, can you help this person with a business plan? Can you help them with a forecast? And after a couple of months, I said, wow, this is a business. And so I put up a website. I took an office in the Empire State Building, and we just started the business in September of 1999. And we started to grow the business, and we were doing really, really well. And then out of nowhere, in December of 2001, we got an unsolicited offer for the business. I wound up closing the sale in March of 2002. I worked for the company that bought my practice for 5 years, and it was a tremendous ride. And in the middle of all that, I got remarried, had a baby, and then we relocated to Florida. And when I came to Florida, I was just determined to find a business that would work. And so our third business was an online retail business, which was started successfully, but we were doing, my wife is an amazing designer, and we were doing high-end baby bedding, and then the recession hit. And so that folded away. And then we cared for my grandmother when she had dementia. So after her passing, we opened up a home health business, and we did that for 8 years. And all of that to say, in 2019, we sold it, and I wasn't really sure what to do next. And I said that was going to be my last business. But of course, I keep failing that idea. And so we were talking about the businesses we sold, and a couple of times we used business brokers, et cetera. And we just said, what could be a better experience for the lower end of the market? And so I'm one of those people that if I'm going to complain, I'm going to fix it. And so Blue Sky was born.
This is what I love about entrepreneurship. When most of our successful business owners started out as having a need themselves that wasn't being fulfilled in the marketplace often. And they said, you know what? I can do this. I can be the one to fulfill the need that I need as well as others. And then they bring it to the marketplace, and it's such a benefit. I mean, this is the beauty of not only entrepreneurship, but also small business, that allows you the opportunity to bring something. Sometimes maybe it's not a completely new idea, but maybe at a price point, like you said, helping the people at a different price level that couldn't compete with some of the bigger guys or work with some of the bigger guys.
Sure. Exactly. And if you think about it, right, and this is going full circle, right, because my CFO business was really focused on pre-revenue companies looking to get venture capital, or early stage companies looking to get their first round. And now I'm on the back end of it saying you've had all of the success, you've built this business. And you know, my typical client, I would probably say half my client base is a baby boomer who's probably dedicated a good part of their life to building their business. Most are in blue collar industries, and so this is their biggest asset. And they deserve to get an exit the same way you would if you were running $100 million business, where people are falling over themselves to work with you. Now, obviously, they're looking to sell you something, right? But you have people who want to give you tax strategy, financial planning, estate planning, and all of that. And when you've got a $10 million business, it's crickets. Nobody cares. And so what we're trying to do is bring that level of planning down to the lower end. But the other part I'm trying to bring too is a holistic approach, right? Because as I said, I continue to fail at selling businesses and stopping and I restart businesses. And part of that is because, well, what do you want to do with your life after you sell the business?
Yeah,
you're an entrepreneur. I am willing to bet you're a type A personality. You're very driven. And the idea of taking a break sounds good to us for about 4 days, and then we get bored. And so if you don't have a plan for after you sell, you wind up failing retirement and doing it over again. And so what we're trying to do is create a holistic approach that says, look, we got to create a value in your business. You've already created all this value. We're going to help you maximize it. But at the same time, what does that money mean to you, right? Because a sum of money means different things to different people. I've had people where $5 million will take care of generations, and I've had people where $5 million will get them through the decade. So what does that look like for you? And then the third piece of tying that all together is, what does your life look like afterwards? What do you want to do? And will you have the means to do it and not outlive your money, et cetera? And so that's the approach we're taking with small business owners.
Yeah, I love all these questions. They're very important. I think often even the average Joe doesn't think about, okay, what happens when you do retire? Do you have enough saved up, or, are you going to able to care for yourself for the long haul? Because maybe you're around after retirement, another 20, 30 years. Do you have it set aside that you're going to be able to take care of your needs or just have the life you want? Now, I don't know if you've heard of a woman called Cody Sanchez. Just recently, I've heard. You have, right? And yes. I'm thinking what you're saying to me right now sounds like a fabulous opportunity for anyone listening in that happens to be a person thinking about, I'd always wanted to own a business, not work for someone, but how do I even get started? And the exit plan for a lot of your clients could be the greatest opportunity, meaning a baby boomer has a fabulous business, is ready to unload, sell it. And here's an opportunity for a newbie to come up, learn the trade, take it over, and keep running with it.
Absolutely. Most people have this impression that to be an entrepreneur, you've got to start it from scratch and go through years of suffering.
Yeah.
And if you own a business, you're going to suffer on some level regardless, but you can buy a business and still be an entrepreneur. And a lot of times, right? Fresh eyes, new blood, new energy, you will revitalize a business. And so that is a very viable way to get into entrepreneurship. In a lot of ways, it's a safer way to get into entrepreneurship.
Yeah. And recently I had heard a report that in Japan, there's so many old time businesses that have been out there 30, 40 years and not enough young people to come take it over. Like some of them don't have family that are ready and able, or maybe don't have family to take over the business. So now the government's saying to some people, hey, we will unload these businesses or help others get started as an apprentice level so they can take over these businesses so they just don't end up in the garbage after 40 years in the community, wonderful service, providing the marketplace. Because it's sad when you have such wonderful mom and pops businesses out there that have been doing extraordinarily well, serving the marketplace. You don't want them to go out of business. And this is the perfect way for some people to be able to go out there and, as you said, start a business. Now, you mentioned something very early on, Joe, that I thought was interesting. You had a partnership and it didn't kind of go the way you wanted. And I thought it would be cool if we could just touch on that, because I think I have a friend of mine actually who's just starting his second business, and he started his first business with a partnership, and he put in all the money and they put in none, but they're putting in equity, cost equity, work equity. But now they're starting a second partnership and his partner isn't able to provide money again. And I'm thinking, this sounds a little hairy. What's your take on how successful partnerships should be looked at, or before you even get started, what is your take on that?
Yeah, it really is complicated. And I think one of the biggest things, and the reason why our first business didn't work out, is that we were all in different stages of our life. So I was recently married and just bought a house. The other two guys were single. And so there was already that dynamic. And so as we were making money, I'm looking to reinvest and grow. And they're like, I want to pull $10,000 out of the business because we're going on vacation. And, you know, so you get two dynamics. First of all, I got money coming out of the business. And then secondly, I really can't afford to have you away for a week when we've got all of these installations and stuff to do. So it was just we were both the three of us were in just very different places with our lives and what we wanted to accomplish for the business. I was looking to build wealth. They were looking for a revenue stream for themselves.
Interesting.
And that makes it complicated. And, you know, and the other part was too, is it was frustrating because it was they were friends, they were good friends, and that really tarnished it. But I also years later wound up getting involved in another business that, and this was again, it was somebody that I knew. I wouldn't call him a close friend, but he was having a struggle when his key sales guy, he's got sick. The business was faltering. I lent him some money. I lent him some more money. And the third time I said, well, if I'm going to do this, I'm on equity and I want to come in and help you fix the business, and wound up doing that with him, only to find out that after we literally turned this business around, we were making a lot of money, and to find out that he was taking money out of the accounts without sharing it. And so I guess part of it too is, you know, there's always two sides to every story. I also think it's my personality. I am a very strong-willed person and very type A. And I just think that I am a person who's better suited to being solo than having partners. But I will say, if you're bringing on partners, document. We handled 2 cases this summer. In both instances, it was companies where they were pushing out a 30% shareholder, and it gets ugly. And part of it was because the formation agreements they were silent to how do you remove a partner? What's the valuation of the business? How do you buy out their partnership? What are the mechanisms to initiate taking out a partner? And so the more of that you can write in, and the mistake a lot of companies make when they're starting out, right, because we're all watching dollars. And so they'll go online to a website and they'll pull down stuff and they say, I saved money by not using a lawyer. And then you spend 25 times that amount when it all blows up in your face. And so if there's any advice I'm going to give to your audience, is spend the money with the professionals out of the gate. I know it's painful, but you will be grateful in the long run, because inevitably everybody loves each other until they don't. And then when they don't, it's too late to fix it.
And it's nothing like I found. I've had some money issues with friends. And this was doing work for friends, and it turned out not good. But I also didn't do a contract with them because they're friends.
Right.
And
but I have nothing to worry about.
I have nothing to worry about. We're friends. It's all going to work out. And it didn't. And then it kind of tarnished our relationship. If we had put on the table all the particulars and we were both like, this is the way it's going to work, this is what it looks like on both sides, there wouldn't have been any ambiguity, and there wouldn't have been any hard feelings. And so it's really tricky that way. I had a friend also who had a business, went in partnership for 5 years, and the guy was smuggling money on the side, like you had mentioned, one of your situations, and had taken a good portion of the money out of the bank and just bankrupt the entire company overnight. And you try to take him to court, and really, the lawyer was like, he's pretty much spent it. I mean, it could cost you a couple $1 million to try to take him to court, and you're going to have to pay all the lawyer fees. I suggest to start over and don't make a mistake. Next time, make sure everything's laid out and you do your homework. So I think what's interesting about you mentioning to get the particular lawyer help and professionals is they'll probably ask questions you won't even think to ask your friends who are being partners with you, because you're such good friends. You wouldn't even think to ask, what does valuation look like when it grows this much? What does work equity look like if you're putting in just work and not as much money as the other partners? So it'll be hashed out on the front, so everyone sees it, aware of it. You all sign the dotted line. You're all aware before you get started.
Absolutely. And, some people are uncomfortable having that conversations with friends. And one of the things I've done with every one of my businesses is I always put an advisory board in place to hold me accountable. And so that's my default is, listen, I know we're friends, but my advisory board is expecting this for everybody we do business with. I need you to. And so that's how we put the agreement in place. So you try not to make it personal, and it's a business. And when you're dealing with a business relationship, treat it that way.
Well, also, you put your friend on notice that I'm held to the same standard in this contract as well as you. It's both of us. Like, if I don't follow through, I'm going to get penalized, and the same goes for everyone. So this is not just on me. I've heard the same thing with, entering marriages. Sometimes people want to do a contract, and I actually think it's a good idea, but they're like, well, you don't love the person if you do a contract. I'm like, not necessarily. You're all on the up and up. You see what you're getting into, and maybe it would stop a lot of divorces, perhaps. Who knows?
Or stop a lot of marriages from happening if they know there's not the silver lining at the end, right?
Right. Exactly. Now, we started a lot with the exit and the partnership. Let's say someone's getting started, they have a fabulous idea, or they want to get into being an entrepreneur, but they don't really know what's entailed in that. What would be your starter insights for them to even consider getting started?
Yeah. So the first thing is, and it's usually like most things in life, it's mental, right? People, especially people that are younger, are like, well, I've got a job, I've got a family, and I have security. Well, your job is about as secure as until they decide you're not necessary anymore. So I would say get over that hurdle about the security, because I think it's a myth. But then secondly is, look, if you want to start something with cash flow and have some level of security, then to your point, go out and buy a business and research them. Look, and again, this is where if you're not a financial person and you don't have a background in this, bring in somebody, at least an accountant. If you're not going to bring in a small investment banking firm, do the due diligence, understand where their revenue come from, understand what the expense structure looks like. Depending on the type of business, like if you're buying a retail business, have people go in on off hours, and not you. If somebody else go in, is the store crowded? Because you can stage things. I mean, story I probably shouldn't tell, but my uncle years ago had a pharmacy in Staten Island. It wasn't doing well. He was looking to sell it. And every time he had an appointment with the buyer, he had all of the family coming in to walk around the store, and we're all buying things. And it was, so, the point is you got to do things a little bit what's the word, clandestine, but you can really probe. I mean, read it today. There's so much information out there. You can read Google reviews, you can find out what a business's reputation is like. And then the other part is, when you're going to buy it, it's part of the exit plan, right? You're going to have somebody like me on the other side, but you want to structure it in such a way so that the seller has a reason to make sure that you're successful. And so a lot of times it's putting an earn out in place or things like that to help you make sure that you're going to be successful with your business.
Yeah,
and it's also going to be. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go for it. You had a last thought.
Yeah, I was going to say the other thing is to do something that's going to make you happy. Just don't buy a business because the numbers work. Because honestly, this is like having a child. And if you're not excited about getting out of bed in the morning to do it, you're never going to make the money, and even if you do, you're going to be miserable. It's got to be something that really fires you up.
And to that point, imagine a 9 to 5, you get to leave at 5 o'clock or whatever it is. If this is your baby, things go upside down or belly up, or you have to work 16-hour days. If you hate it on top of it, it's best to stay in a job you don't like better than staying in a career, or stay in a business you hate, because you're going to be working a lot more hours than you did in a job. Absolutely.
And again, there's another mindset to that as well, right? Because people who are really comfortable with, I go in at 9, I leave at 5, they're probably not cut out to be entrepreneurs. I've always described my life as a big bowl of spaghetti, and every morning I wake up and decide which strings I'm going to pull. And so it's balancing family time, work time, back to family time, back to work time. There's no start and stop. It's just a continuous, you run a business. It doesn't, there's no defined stop time. It's just, when do I give up for today and pick up again tomorrow?
Exactly. And I like what you were saying also about people being clear about what they're passionate about, and seeing not only what are you excited about, but what I'm excited about, is there some way that I can really truly serve the marketplace? It's like, I like to sing songs. Okay, how does that help people right here, right now? Because I think often people have this passion. I like to knit socks or something like that. It's like, great. How does that fit into what people are needing or wanting? Or how can you present it to the marketplace in a new and exciting way that would make people excited to go get your product? Because it's not always about, I love it, so therefore it'll make money. Because often, people start businesses that end up going belly up pretty quickly with only that in mind.
Yeah, I think, you're making a great point. I think what people have to ask, the question they have to ask themselves is, what value am I providing to the person who's buying from me? And if you approach it like that all the time, then you're going to start, because we all also have a tendency, right? We think it's a great idea and we want people to buy what we're selling, but people don't buy what we're selling. We have to learn to sell what people want to buy. And so it's, what is the other side of the transaction value? And that's what you really have to try and focus on providing.
Joe, I love this. Many years ago, I made this mistake where I was trying to sell a collections course, and it was a several-part course. I taught it in Manhattan. I was so excited about it. I got several people to come to the first lecture in Manhattan, but I couldn't get anyone to actually buy the course. And I thought it was fabulous. And when I started doing, a survey of my followers, I said, well, what's wrong? Don't y'all want help in your collections? They're like, yes, but we want someone to do it. We don't want to learn all the ins and outs of AR. We want an accountant to come in and just do it. And so perfect, in mind, you could say, oh, I have this great idea. I have this course or this thing I want to give people, but not knowing your marketplace, not wanting that.
Absolutely. It's interesting when I started Blue Sky, and I started this in April 2020, so it was right smack in the middle of COVID, but it was also a good opportunity to test. And so we were reaching out, and I've been doing business for more than 30 years, right? So I was able to reach out to a lot of my contacts and just say, listen, if hypothetically, if I had this type of a business and I offered you this, what do you think? And I got that would be great. I could care less if you did that. And so that's how we wound up going along with this 4-phase process and things like that, because it really was to try and build something that was tailored to where the business owner is saying, well, I'm getting value for this. I'm not just doing it because you told me I need to do it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, we could go on a lot longer, but I don't want anyone to leave without finding out how you can help them grow their business today. How can they reach you, find out more about Blue Sky Exit Planning? How could they do that?
Absolutely. So our website is blueskyexitplanning.com. You can reach out to me directly. My email is joe@blueskyexitplanning.com. If you have a business and you're curious what it's worth or how you can improve it, on our website, there's links to 2 different assessments. If you take those assessments and just indicate that you heard me on this podcast, I'll do a free 1-hour consultation with you just to kind of walk you through the data and give you some pointers on how you can make some changes in your business to increase value.
Awesome. And if there happens to be a fledgling entrepreneur out there who's like, maybe you have some clients that I could buy their business, could they reach out to you as well?
Absolutely.
Awesome. That's fabulous.
Same contact, and absolutely, we'll put you on our database, and as we come across opportunities, we'd be glad to share them.
That's fabulous. Well, I have to thank you again, Joe. This has been a fabulous conversation that I know has enlightened our audience. Thank you so much for coming to Savvy Broadcasting.
Christina, thanks for having me. I really enjoyed our time together.
You betcha.
Looking for a hilarious read? Well, check out my latest book, My Crazy Roommates. The names have been changed to protect the deranged. Step into the wild and unpredictable world of young adulthood in the heart of New York City. Brace yourself for a roller coaster ride through the trials, tribulations, and hilarious moments of shared living spaces with a colorful cast of characters. Fasten your seatbelt and get ready to laugh, cringe, and maybe shed a tear as you delve into the pages of My Crazy Roommates. So get your copy today, available at Amazon.com.